Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my fantasy wrap-up for the months of March and April. So I should have already posted my fiction slash romance wrap-up and gave a little bit of an explanation if you didn't bother watching that one. This is my wrap-up for the last month and a half because I was absent due to all of the illness. Let's just say that Jack brought everything home from daycare and we caught it all at once, and that led to being sick for an entire month plus some. And so I did get a lot of reading done, however I got absolutely zero filming done, and I'm trying to catch up on all of that now, and I just want to go through and do a bunch of rapid recent reads kind of for you guys, and I ended up having to split it into genres. So the last video that I posted should have been my fiction romance wrap up. If that's what you prefer to look at, go check out that video. However, this one is my fantasy. It should go a little bit faster. I read a little bit less fantasy. You guys know they take longer. Well, no, that's not true. I didn't read less fantasy. I can group them into fewer groups, however, because I'm not going to go too in-depth on some of them, and I will just jump right into it so that I can stop being vague. So the first book that I read in the month of March that was fantasy is How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying, I think is what the title is. I'll pop the cover up so you guys can see it, and this is by Django Wexler. I think it comes out in May. And obviously the title is what caught my eye, and the synopsis also caught my eye because you follow Davi, I think her name is, and she is stuck in a time loop in which she is in this fantasy world. She's from our world, but she somehow gets sucked into this fantasy world where when she wakes up, this wizened old man tells her that her destiny is to stop the Dark Lord and help the humans, I guess, to defeat him. And so for 200 lifetimes, well over 1,000 years, I want to say. It's been a long, long time. She is in this time loop where she tries to help the humans defeat the Dark Lord, and she always ends up dying in a really horrific way and watching all of her friends die in a really horrific way, to the point where she's done. She has been tortured to death one last time, and she is done. She decides that this time, if you can't beat him, join him. She's going to be the Dark Lord. And so she pretty much, if you remember the old school video games in which you literally just, like, could not save and you had to go through the entire level and on skill alone and figuring out what works and what doesn't work, and when you get to a certain part and you die, you just have to go all the way back to the beginning. That's what Davi does. So you run through the beginning, and she's like on this different path where she doesn't know anything anymore. She hasn't been through it 200 times because now she's trying to be on the Dark Lord's side, and so she dies many, many times and ends up getting finally through to a point where she can lead the other army and be on a path to becoming the Dark Lord. And you kind of follow her as she goes against everything that she had previously known, and in a very if you can't beat 'em, join 'em kind of way. The whole thing, I had a really good time with it. The humor was entertaining to me, the way that she literally just talked like somebody from our world does to the people of this fantasy land, and they were just like, okay, she's weird, she's crazy, whatever, but they just went with it. I had a great time with all of that. I had a great time watching her figure out what worked and what didn't work. I had a great time, mostly with her interactions with these people. The only thing that really bothered me, and I talked about this in my review on Goodreads, is like, for somebody that has had no problem getting any for 200 lifetimes, she is weirdly obsessed with sex, like at the most inappropriate times. And it's fine, I guess, once you get used to that as an aspect of her personality, but for the first, like, probably 25% of the book, it really took me out, because I was like, shouldn't we be doing something else right now? Like, I don't know, trying to escape the place that we are in, that we are trying to escape. But whatever, I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think it comes out in May, like I said, and if that interested you, I would definitely give it a shot. I know that it's the first of, I don't know if it's like a duology or a series, but it is the first book of more books because the way that it ended. And that's your warning about that. That's all I'm going to say. These next books are the ones that I'm not going to talk about too much because I plan on putting them all in a separate video. If you watched my previous video, you saw that I read Too Late by Colleen Hoover, and I learned that I am not a Colleen Hoover person. And in order to cleanse my palate, I read, can you see it? Almost every single book on this half of the shelf. I read the entirety almost of Tamara Pierce's Tortall Universe. I reread as a palate cleanser, and I had a fantastic time. I read all 4 books in the Alana the Lioness Quartet. I then read all 4 books in the Immortals Quartet, which is arguably my favorite of all of the Tortall books. I'll talk about that in the video that I'm dedicating specifically to this, though. I then read all 4 books in the Protector of the Small Quartet, and then I read the entire Becca Cooper trilogy. I did not go back and reread the Newmare Chronicles, although I should have. Tempest and Slaughter. Yeah. I did not go back and reread Tempest and Slaughter, although I probably should have, and I did not reread the Trickster duology that takes place far in the future compared to all of these. But those are the only 3 books out of the Tortall books that I have not reread in this Tamara Pierce binge that I did unapologetically. It sounds like okay, it's not an insignificant number of books. There are 4 books each, so 12, 13, 14, 15 books that I decided to go through in about 2 weeks because I just binged through them. The first books in the Alana series and the first books in the Immortals series, and I think the first books in the Protector of the Small are like 300 pages or less, so they are very, very quick reads, and they are so easy to read that it's easy to get to. I mean, they are technically like middle grade young adult, so they're very fast. I like them all, and I will recommend them all to you over and over and over again, and like I said, I am going to film a video specifically as the Tamara Pierce reading guide. So if you're interested in any of these and you want to read any of these, I would go check that out as soon as I have it out, hopefully within the next week or 2. It's planned. But yeah, so I read all 15 of those books in the first like 2 weeks of April, and I had a great time doing it. The last 2 books I listened to as audiobooks, and that is Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands by Heather Fawcett. I talked in one of my previous videos about Emily Wilde's guide to something. I don't remember what that book is called, but you guys probably have heard of it. It's been everywhere, and it is deservedly so. So in this one, you just continue on in the adventures of Emily and Wendell. I'm not going to talk about it specifically what they're doing because that kind of spoils some of the events of book 1. But if you've read book 1, I thought that this was a really cute continuation to it. I enjoyed all of the changes in relationship and scenery, and I ended up giving this 4 stars. I did enjoy book 1 a lot more, but if it interested you, I really think it's worth reading the sequel also. And then the last book that I'm going to talk to you guys about on this did end up actually being a much shorter video, which is good, is The Last Blood Carver by Vanessa Lee. This was an audio arc sent to me by Macmillan, and I ended up having a really good time with it. So you follow Nika. Nika is a blood carver. It's a person from this specific country that has the ability to manipulate the body on like, I don't want to say an atomic level, but they do have the ability to like go into your body and fix or unfix things, such as it is. And so she can either heal or she can really, really hurt, and they are often used as like medics, doctors, nurses / assassins. She is down on her luck because her entire family has been murdered and she's by herself in, I don't know if she's necessarily in the slums, but she is working as like a scam medicine herb witch, hedge witch kind of woman, selling her abilities to whoever will buy them, whoever says that they need them. And she very rarely actually uses her abilities to help anybody until one day she does, and she is then caught and auctioned off to a family that hires her to help save somebody who was in an accident in an attempt to find out who murdered their father. So it's murder mystery also, which you guys know, huge trigger word for me. And I don't really want to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything. So that's pretty much what happens, and it was really, really interesting. I had a good time. I think it would probably be like a 3.5, 4-star read for me. I don't really want to say that the end was not predictable. I saw a lot of the end coming. There were definitely some twists that I didn't see coming, and I still enjoyed it immensely. I think this is going to be a series, and I'm not going to go into why, but I don't really love how it ended. And that's all I'm going to say about that, and I still don't know if I'm going to read the next book or not, but it was interesting. I've never heard of this like magic system before. I believe that it was Asian inspired, but it definitely had that feel. and it was really good. It was also futuristic. There was a lot of technology, let me put it that way, that I wasn't expecting in a fantasy novel, but it is definitely a fantasy novel, and it was entertaining. And I'm not describing this very well. I'm just gonna leave it there. It was good, and I enjoyed it, and I just don't know if I'm going to keep going or not. But if you're looking for a unique fantasy, I think this is YA also. If you're looking for a YA fantasy that has a unique magic system that I personally have never seen before, definitely recommend. Alright, so this ended up being a much shorter video than I had anticipated, and that's a good thing because my last one was much longer. Maybe I should have split it into 3 instead of into just 2, but whatever, it is what it is. So that's all for this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because it really helps out my channel, and in the description box you're gonna see links to my Goodreads, my Twitter, and my Instagram in case you guys wanted to follow me on any of those. That's it for me today, guys. Bye!